Absolutely. And Matt, when Nancy Pelosi says that it's a humanitarian challenge, no, that's getting the wrong order of turkey sandwiches to a refugee camp. This is a crisis when you have children who are sleeping on floors, who have been detained illegally now, 2/3 of them, and you have a 729% overcapacity rate at the facility in Donna, Texas. Now they're looking for other federal facilities, including Air Force bases in places like Arizona and California, but it's not getting any better, and they don't seem to have a plan to address the why and the how. What do you see here?
I can't believe, actually I can believe, that's the problem of, the House Majority Leader and the Minority Leader both stand up and say, darn it, that president, he's really got to do something. There is this thing called the legislative branch.
Amen.
You can even look it up on the Constitution, right? They come up with laws about stuff. Those laws determine things like, what do you do with asylum seekers and refugees and would-be refugees who want to come in? They actually passed laws. I would argue that Donald Trump flouted those laws. And I don't think, to Guy's point about Joe Biden not having a plan, I'm not sure just stopping the asylum project, just gutting it. Well, we don't have refugees anymore. What, the refugees went away? That's not much of a plan either. And so what you're seeing is a combination of both those things. Congress can pass a law about legal immigration, the L stuff, the stuff that we really, really like. They can and should do that, expanding that, correcting some of the, I would say, errors that Donald Trump made, but also correcting generations of errors. They can do that. They're not. They'd rather demagogue this and make it all about presidents. Meanwhile, Joe Biden, he's got to have something besides a plan of saying, I'm not going to deport anybody anymore, and I'm going to be welcoming. But there isn't any legislation to back it. Of course, you're going to see this pent-up demand of people who are going to come to this country. If they have no door to get into, they're going to dig around the door. There's just no way that they're not going to do that.
And, it's such a toxic pendulum that goes back and forth between administrations. But to Matt's point, Chris, it's okay to look back and say immigration has been broken for a long time. What have we tried to do? What has failed? What has worked? Even if you have to go back to the 50s and 60s to look at agreements that we've had with Mexico, what we're doing now, and I think we can all agree that immigration by fiat in terms of executive order that's then challenged and overturned in the courts is a bad policy.
It's amazing. The female labor force participation rate, the last time it came through, was the lowest we've seen since 1988. We are not just going backwards, we're sprinting backwards. And it's a gendered recession, like almost entirely, almost all of the jobs. Kamala Harris wrote a piece about this in the Washington Post on February, I think it was 12th. And I remember that date because she's lamenting it, says we need to do something about it. The American Rescue Plan is going to be the thing. She almost didn't even mention schools and school reopening. Where is it that schools are not reopening? Look at a map. Compare it to coronavirus figures. Has nothing to do with it. It has everything to do with, did you like Trump or did you hate Trump? And I wish it wasn't that crass. That's the Brookings Institute. That's everybody who's looked at this. It's Democratic-run big states and big cities have kept their schools closed. I don't want to say they consciously use that as a hostage situation to get a $200 billion giveaway from the feds with no strings attached, 80% of which is going to personnel. But that's what just happened. It is absolutely infuriating. And Guy is right. Not only are people at their wits' end, 1 hour before I started this, who was I talking to? I was talking to the new private school. I'm going to say I've never gone to private school in my life. My wife is French.
Oh,
my
I think
God.
We just lost Matt. Either that or we lost to. But Matt, does it boil down to your view of human nature? Because you've got governors in different places doing the same cost-benefit analysis. How do they come up with very different equations for how to deal with the pandemic?
I recently looked to see how all the states compare to each other in pandemic job loss, right? From February of last year until now are the latest that we have numbers for. And I was shocked to discover the following. The 18 states that had the highest rate of job loss, all 18 voted for Joe Biden. I didn't go looking for that. It just came out that way. Yes. The 18 that were in the other direction, that had the lowest rate of job loss, even Utah even gained some jobs over that time. All 18
They
have
had
Republican
so many kids, am I right? Yeah.
A lot of kids.
Yeah.
They all have Republican governors and Republican legislators, all of them, legislatures. That's crazy to me. And it doesn't depend on the level of coronavirus, right? Hawaii lost the most jobs. Hawaii has the best rate or the lowest rate of mortality because of coronavirus. New York, a lot of jobs, a lot of deaths, etc. Utah hasn't had many deaths at all. So it suggests that at the state and local level, much more than at the national level, we get distracted with all the time.
Yes.
The state and local level, there are actual differences in philosophy on how you govern in the economy. And what we're going to see right now, that we're beginning to finally admit that maybe it's not government policy that dictates how the coronavirus affects lives. Maybe now it affects like life and death. It affects lives that are lived.
It's you know, he's supposed to be a corn husker. He should be a hemp husker, Matt.
That's right. And thank God for the thing that Chris was poo-pooing earlier, which is federalism, right? We got to experiment on a state and local level aggressively, beginning with medical marijuana in the 1990s, which a lot of people turned their noses at. And then going to, it's not just the 40s and 50s, it's like 2012 when California and Washington and Colorado started the recreational legalization. We can see what happens. And the thing that the scaremongers say is going to happen doesn't. And you remove prohibition and you remove so much of the crime, so much of the black market and the nastiness, and so much of police interacting with people for things that they should not be interacting people on, causing all kinds of problems. Legalize this stuff, man.
And
Come on.
it's interesting because, you know, Governor Ricketts is saying that, you know, one of his arguments is marijuana is a gateway drug. It's actually an exit drug. And, you know, there are a lot of places where recreational marijuana is legal, Guy, and people stop using things like heroin and opiates.